Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And so thank you so much once again for joining us this warm afternoon here in Lagos, Nigeria. Um, we will start immediately, but before we delve right into it, I would like to tell you a bit about why we're here, especially for those who might be joining us for the first time, a bit about African No Filter and why we have put this together. Um, we are a donor collaborative that supports the development of nuanced and contemporary stories that shift existing stereotypical narratives within and about Africa. We do our work through research, grant making, advocacy, and also building the community. Our aim is that we want to build the community of narrative change makers by supporting storytellers, by supporting investing in media platforms and generating content, generating stories that presents a more balanced picture about Africa, driving disruption campaigns. And our goal is that over time, we would have an empowered narrative change ecosystem where we have informed storytellers who are deliberately working to shift stereotypical and harmful narratives within and about Africa. And we are very happy to have you all here. One of the ways that we build our ecosystem is the reason that we are gathered here today. The ANF Academy offers come every quarter, and through these we aim to capacitate storytellers to be able to tell better stories and tell stories better about Africa. And so we offer capacity building engagements, we offer knowledge exchange sessions where you can gain new knowledge that helps you position yourself and helps you sustain your creative enterprise, regardless of what sector you find yourself. And so we're happy to have you all here, and we are looking forward to an explosive session. Today, we are once again going to dive deep into what it takes to convert your ideas from your head to the television. It's a very interesting conversation, and we'll be speaking with someone who has got so many years of experience in commissioning TV content and helping producers understand what it takes to take advantage of such opportunities, right? He also mentored many MultiChoice ED Trust beneficiaries who have graduated from the MultiChoice Talent Factory. Some of them are now driving their own production companies, very successful in what they do. And so he's got many years of experience in this space, and we're very happy that he's found the time to come and speak with you all as members of our community. At MultiChoice, as a commissioning editor, he's worked on record-breaking projects like The Imposter Season 1 and the legendary Isibaya, which most of you might have heard about. He has worked on critically acclaimed Showmax films such as Umakoti Wetu, Welcome to the Family, and Induku. And so we will go right into it. The next voice you will be hearing will be that of Sanele Shibe, who will take us through a presentation on the rudiments in the next couple of minutes. And afterwards, we would have the floor opened for questions and answers, right? So Sanele, this is your time. Thank you so much.
Jeez, what an intro. Thank you so much, Mark. I'm really, really excited about today. Really looking forward to having this engagement because I think as a person who's been put in this position, I'm quite fortunate in the fact that my job is solely to hunt and look for great stories from passionate storytellers, right? And then I just get to watch your amazing work before everyone else does, right? So at least that's what I do in the South African market. And I'm just going to share my presentation and share the sound now. Yeah, so what we're going to be going through today is just probably one of my favorite things to go through, because this is how we get to capacitate our fellow industry peers so that they are able to tell their stories and get their stories out, because I firmly believe that as Africa, one of my own passions is to truly take us from being people who are fed this content from America initially, and from places like Korea and China and everywhere else, and Europe and all of these, which are great stories. But I firmly am of the belief that as Africans, we have the capability, we have the stories, we have the knowledge, we have the know-how, and we also have the resonance to be quite good and powerful in the world, and that we deserve to also become cultural producers and not just consumers of other cultures, but we can really export our culture. And just from here, this picture, before I start, just so that you get to know a little bit about me, this picture is taken from my house, and every day when I'd wake up and I'd step outside the lounge, this would be the view that I see. I'm from Mlazi, which is a township in Durban, South Africa. And this is where I grew up. This is where my friends are. This is where, you know, the kind of environment that I come from. And it's also the place that kind of each and every house there, I have a friend, and, you know, there's a story behind that house, right? And we'd all meet together as friends and just share stories, share experiences, and truly get to truly connect. And these are the people that kind of shaped the person that I am today through their teachings, through their wisdom. Some of them, I know exactly where my bully lives as well. And this is what kind of, this is the environment that shaped my storytelling gene, right? As the last born of 4 kids, which are all boys, I had the privilege of my parents always telling my brothers to get lost whenever I was watching the TV, right? And that kind of sparked my interest in the whole television space as to what makes like television great. Like, how do I know if a story is good or not? And then from there, Mlazi, which is here, I then moved and I went to go study in Johannesburg at the University of Johannesburg, where I did audiovisual communication. And I'm so glad that I actually did audiovisual communication, because what I learned is that how images and words speak something, they say something, right? So it's never just a piece of content. Like everything that you select, every bit of audio, every bit of video, every bit of picture that you put there is essentially communicating something. And it's communicating an emotion to the person on the other side. So film, pictures, and videos do speak. And it's about what do we select and how do we make those selections so that the message that we are trying to articulate comes through and comes across, right? And then after that, I was fortunate enough to go work at MultiChoice. And there at MultiChoice, I got entangled into the business of content by working for the commissioning team. And for me, the first thing that I learned was that, you know, the mandate of, especially a paid TV, service, is that the mandate at first is to entertain, right? Because what is the difference between that is that people are actually paying for your service. So you have to make that pay, or the pain of paying, you need to make it worth it for your viewers, so that when they pay, they go to the tills smiling, because they know the kind of offering that you have and the kind of offering that you give them. So if your viewers are not entertained, or they're not getting something from your offering as a whole, then they don't necessarily then see the value proposition of it. So then what that means that if more people are paying for your service, then more people need to kind of be watching your service, which then leads to ratings. We always look and search for content that will drive the numbers, that will drive the subscriptions, because like I'm saying, we are paying. And then our target at the time was to have appointment viewing, right? And us now catering for 2 services, which is the Showmax service and the linear business service. What that means is that we kind of need people to, when that piece of content is released, they are going and watching that piece of content religiously. And at the same time, our customers become our ambassadors, because they don't only watch and forget, but they watch and they speak about this content. So that is the framework then that guides our selection process as a business, right? And I just want to say what our submissions process is. We will come back to that, but this is just like, how do we then go and select our content as the MultiChoice team in South Africa, right? So we have a submissions, because MultiChoice is a listed entity in South Africa. We have to go via a process that can be audited, right? So what that means is that there is so if you Google Mnet submissions or submit content to MultiChoice, you'll get this submissions.mnetcorporate.co.za. It might be region specific based on where you are, right? So once you go onto that link and you've submitted your idea, what then happens is that us as the commissioning editors, we sit and we vet the idea based on the current climate that we see, based on the research that has been provided, and the kind of taste that the audience has kind of said, okay, this is what we kind of want. And then also to address some needs that the audience might not be able to articulate. For instance, if the situation is tough economically, audiences will come back and say, we need more content that shows us how to be successful, or like how other people became successful. So they won't necessarily say, we want content that's gonna alleviate our economic situation, but they'll say, we want content that's gonna teach us something about how these successful people you portray got to be successful. And we look at the broader macro environment and the needs of that space, and then we select then the contents based on that and our 3-year or 5-year plan. And then from there, we select ideas based on the slots that are available. And once we've sifted that idea, producers are invited to pitch. And just for your FYI, pitches are 20 minutes for your story. And then we usually reserve 10 minutes for question and answers in case there are things that we would like to know more about. And it's always story related, okay? And then the reason why we are all here. If you don't take anything away from this presentation, at least please take away the how your pitching document should be structured, because this is what then kind of guides us when we are reading through your proposal. And what some people normally do, what from my experience, what I've seen is that people will just jump into the story, but they don't have a log line. But what's important, and it goes without saying, that we need to know what the title of your show is. And, you know, like, yeah, just the title of your show, try to make it as punchy and as captivating as possible, as strong as possible as well, if you can, depending on your story. And then what we would then need is your log line. And your log line is maybe 2 or 3 sentences that encapsulate what your story is about. And what your log line should be or should do, or what it should communicate, is 1, who your main character is, 2, what your main character is looking for or looking to achieve, 3, what is the obstacle standing in their way of achieving that, and then 4, then kind of like that hook that makes us then see that this central conflict is really compelling and worth following for either 90 minutes for a movie, or 24 minutes times 13 episodes, or 48 minutes times 13 episodes. So your log line should essentially give us the story without giving us the story. And what I've seen that people really do well is that they will then say, Sibongile is a mother of 4 who is looking to go and find, you know, Sibongile, a mother of 4, realizes that her husband has been cheating on her and the husband kicks her out. When she moves out, she has to go back to her mother, who she hasn't seen in 38 years. But the problem is the mother wants nothing to do with her and her kids. So that essentially tells you everything that you need to know. And then the controlling idea behind then your document or your show, right? Because we kind of need to know, okay, what is the framework that guides this idea, right? So for some people, it is that love will conquer all. For some people, it is you can try break the ties between family, but somehow they always find a way to tie you back into them, right? So that's then the framework or the big idea behind your concept. And then after that, then what you would then need is a dramatic question. One of the best dramatic questions that I've heard for an example, from a conceptual level is, what if Jesus was raised by the devil? Right, which then gets you thinking, oh, okay, what does that mean? But it was essentially a tale about a baby swap, right? So try to find creative ways within your document to say that, okay, if this is my story, what are some of the archetypes or signposts that people know that I can use then to, what are some of the signposts that I can use to get people to easily identify with it, right? And one of the best examples, another good examples, is also how, what's this guy's name? David Cameron was struggling to sell Titanic to the studios. And what he did, after years of trying over and over again, how he got the studios to finally to see the grandness or the greatness of his idea was that he said, what if Romeo and Juliet were on a boat? And from there, that is how then the story of Titanic was born, right? And it became one of the greatest movies of all time, one of the most grossing. And then what you then do, if it's a series, you then need your episode outline. What I would implore for you here is to make this episode outline, try and make it as visual as possible. So what I mean by that is, in your episode 1 outline, that first image that we see needs to be quite strong. Your ad break structures and your cliffhangers also need to be very strong. What I mean, so in your episode 1 outline, you would essentially make an example of saying, we open on a dark night, footsteps walk into the frame, and these footsteps are laced with blood. As the man walks, we pan up and we see that he's got a knife in his hand. We pan out from the man with the knife in his hand into the room, and we see 3 bodies lying in a pool of blood. You know what I mean? And then you say opening credits or opening title. What that does for us, because we are looking for content that we are not gonna read, for lack of a better example. We are looking for content that we are gonna watch and sell to who? To the viewers. So now you need to make your episode 1 outline as visual as you possibly can. And then you do the same then with your series outline. So from your episode 1 outline, and then you have a strong cliffhanger. The final image we see is the man with the knife in the beginning, now in handcuffs, you know what I mean, going to being driven away in a police van. But as the police van turns the corner, it explodes. And we see a woman walking out of the bushes holding a remote, right? So that's your cliffhanger for argument's sake. And then after that, you'd have your series outline where you say, okay, episodes 2 to 4, this is what happens. These are the big beats, right? Episode 5 to 7, these are your big beats, but then knowing that it's episode 7, you would like to include a plot twist or a midway point or a midpoint that is very intriguing, that's gonna introduce some new information. And then 8 to 10 or 8 to 13, then you would summarize that. But make sure that the beats that you summarize are highlighting the emotional points as opposed to the plot points, okay? If it's a movie, what we would need is just your film synopsis. So we'd still need title, logline, controlling idea, dramatic question, and then your synopsis from the beginning to the end. And this document, guys, I know I said a lot, but don't stress. It only needs to be between 3 and 5 pages. If it is for a movie, I would advocate for making it 2 pages maximum. And what that does, that it kind of helps you whittle it down to the most critical information that you need to have. Only information that is going to drive the story. And then from there, you then go onto the site and then you submit under the respective channel that you would like your content to go to. So if you are in Zambia, for instance, you would click on the Maisha Magic. If you are in Nigeria, it would be Africa Magic. If you are in Kenya, you would go to Maisha Magic and right. So you just click to the channel that is relevant for you. And now, interestingly enough, now you can also submit under Showmax as well. So yeah, that's also another opportunity, another avenue there. So then what do you bring? We are assuming now that, you know, because all of you guys are such fantastic storytellers and we've read your pitch and it's everything that we've talked about above. Now we're like, okay, so Shap, what do you bring to the pitch? Because we've called you in, right? So the respective commissioning editors within your region have called you in. Try to bring a very visual presentation. What I mean by that, try to limit having too many words, but just limit it to the key phrases that are going to cue you to move on, right? Dramas, please, within your PowerPoint presentation, have a very strong and compelling Ep1. Summarize the key moments in your stories and most especially your cliffhangers. And then what you can then have is what people will often ask you is, what is the emotional hook or what is the character-driven journey? So make sure that you, ahead of time, you are prepared with what is the emotional need of your character? And then also then what are some of the journeys that your character is gonna go through and how are they gonna drive the story, okay? If you do have a key team, it would be great to highlight them and what they've done if you do have. If you don't, it's not a train smash or an issue. What we usually do is that if you really would like to, would need help with building a team that has the capacity to produce at this scale, we either task you to go and find people that you know that are credible in the field and experienced, to find those and try to strike a partnership with them. If not, then we can usually just try and help you as best as we can, okay? And I'm assuming that this is all under the assumption that this is for commissioned content, because we don't necessarily go through this process for licensed content because it's already been completed and paid for by the producer. So we wouldn't necessarily go through all of these steps because we do have something that we can view and watch that we can reference back to. And then for the movies, all you have to do is just tell us the story from beginning to end and, you know, try to make it as visual, as captivating, as gripping, and as twist and turny as possible. What to bring to a pitch or what to do during a pitch. Most importantly, guys, try to be on time. I also advocate for doing dry runs. So if your client is using Microsoft Teams, for example, try to sort out the technology, I would say 2 days before. Try to test and make sure that everything works on the day before so that you are not surprised. If there are, in South Africa, we currently have load shedding. Not sure if other countries around have the same issues, but anything can happen, guys. So try to make sure that you are in a place where you will be able to deliver the presentation, where there will be electricity, where there will be everything that you need, you know, and the technology is working the way that it should be. And make sure you know your story and tell it well, guys. I can't stress this enough. What I always advocate for producers to do in this point is that I always tell them, just present your story to the people that are close to you, the 5 people that are closest to you, right? So that because they are not people within the industry, I always advocate that we don't do content for industry people, right? We do content to try and make it as much of a global reach as possible, because I'm assuming a lot of you guys are out there actually, if you are not watching content for research, you're actually out there making and creating content and working on your craft, right? So you guys would then need to sit with people that are close to you, wives, girlfriends, mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, grandparents, kids, whoever is there within your circle of influence, and tell them your presentation. Take them through it and see if it catches or not, right? And when they tell you, give you feedback, don't be defensive, but take the feedback, because tomorrow that's going to be your audience. You know what I mean? They're going to be your people going to support your stuff, your career, and your dreams. So take their feedback, because you take it as research and viewer feedback. And then what then would happen is that you need to make your story simple, so simple that even, I would even go to the point of saying, even a 3-year-old can understand what your story is about. Once you've distilled it to that point where it is so simple that a 3-year-old can understand it, then you know you are onto something. But if people are still kind of confused, then you know, okay, maybe I need to work on this particular beats because I get it in my head, but on paper and to the person I'm telling it to, it's not necessarily coming across like that. So how do I make it, phrase it, and package it in a way that they then get it, you know, and then go back and say, okay, is it better now? And if they say yes, then you know, okay, I'm on the right track. Because people consume, a majority of people that are your customers, they are looking for simplicity. And you can tell a complex story, but do it simply, okay? And then in your presentation, be as clear as possible. Try to time your pitches as well. Have a clear structure. How do you start? Think about such things. How do you start? What does my middle look like? How do I package my middle so that people see that, okay, this is the turning point? How do I package the end so that people, understand that this is now the climate, right? And then practice your delivery. Do dry runs, or I can't stress the importance of dry runs, guys. Just practice, 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 practice until you are comfortable. Because what you need to understand is that, yes, you go and present alone, but there are a plethora of creatives that are also competing for the slot that you want as well. There's a plethora of creatives out there that are honing and working on their craft as well, trying to get better. So if I don't do the work to get better and improve, then what happens is that I'm already 4 days behind the guy that was practicing 2 days ago. You know what I mean? So I need to always consistently hone that skill and practice and practice and practice. And then the pitching, don't, oh yes, do dress smart casual, confident in your story. But the most important thing, guys, you need to be passionate and confident in your story. Because if you are passionate and confident in it, then most definitely believe that I will be passionate and confident in it. I don't know whether you've had instances where someone just speaks with so much confidence. You just like, you know what, whatever this person is saying has to be the truth because they are that confident. You need to be confident within your story, but at the same time, balance that confidence with the humility to listen and accept feedback, okay? Don't put too many words on your presentations. Try to engage the audience, okay? So what I always advocate for is you need to kind of become a storyteller first. Know what works for you as a storyteller. And yeah, don't be defensive or go over time, right? So those are the key things, guys. Whenever we are going through the presentations, those are the key things that we look for. And yeah, just to go through this, always tell your stories in a way that's simple. Your characters need to be clear. And just remember, guys, in drama, what we are essentially looking for is a lot of the enjoyment comes from, you sympathizing with the character that is suffering in some way just because they wanted something, okay? And then those characters are better than us in some way because they have the goal, they have the goal to actually go for their dreams, right? So go for whatever they want. I'll go for that relationship that they want. So always remember that the suffering of a lot of the enjoyment comes from the undeserved suffering of your audience. So make your characters memorable, make them simple, understand why, guys. And I would say the best exercise that I have ever done and that I advocate for my producers to do is when you have a story and you have your lead character and you've assessed them and you've said, okay, this is what my lead character needs to do. Then you ask why, like 7 times. I always advocate the 7 whys. Okay, why? Why must they get this money? Okay, to feed their child. Why must they feed their child? Because they go, okay, but why? And then just keep asking yourself why until you get to the core and the roots of your character. And always remember, guys, it's all about the stakes as well. So make your world of story interesting. Always try to increase, see how the conflict is increasing within your story. And yeah, guys, remember that although as human beings, when you design characters, what you see is on the outside, but your characters also have beliefs, assumptions, norms, values. Try to distill what those are, because once you know what those are, then what can then happen is that you can then drive them in your story to the direction that you would like them to go. And you know how they are going to react when certain situations arise and show themselves. And when they are tested the most, how will they react based on what they believe, based on what their norms are, based on what their assumptions and what their values are. So always look more into the invisible parts of your characters before, and so that whatever you make visible kind of makes sense and drives your story forward, guys. So yeah, that's all for today. Yeah, but yeah, make your story easy to follow, make the events exciting, make the twists unpredictable, make some characters do the unexpected. Always sell us the emotions, guys. And remember, this is storytelling. It always has to be fun. And when you are having fun, we will see that you are having fun, and then we'll be more than willing to jump on that train with you. And yeah, guys, we have a lot of content hours to fill. So do go to that thing and submit your content, please.
Thank you so much, Sanele. I felt like I was in class myself and I got carried away. I learned a whole lot. I've got my own questions, but I don't want to be selfish about this. So I'll just pick a question. We have lots and lots of questions.
I see.
I mean, lots of them and very relevant. I mean, we'll probably spend the whole day picking these questions and providing answers. But let's see how quickly we can. But before we start
Okay.
with the questions, I'd just like to say that we did share a poll at the beginning. So any moment from now, we should see the results of that poll. And I'd also like to prep our minds for the survey. There's a survey, a feedback survey, just to get your reflection on how the session went today. That will be coming up on the screen at the end of the session. And so please do feel free to drop your comments and your reflections. We'll be happy to have them and improve upon processes and subsequent editions. And so the first question, Sanele, I would like you to answer, and I'll take a couple of questions and then you can provide answers, and let's just see how we can group or batch them like that, and maybe it makes us move quicker
Okay.
than
I
taking
might
them one
forget
after
though
the
and
other.
not answer them all. So if
I'll be
can,
here to remind you. I'll just
or
give
you'll
you,
remind me. Perfect.
yeah,
Okay,
sure.
cool. Great.
Yeah. Okay, so someone is asking, what does it take to get a TV show on MultiChoice? That's pretty basic question. I'm sure you
Yes.
expected that. And then there's a follow-up question, which is quite
Mm.
similar. It says, what's the commissioning process for the different regions? So East Africa, Southern Africa, West Africa. Do you commission projects from all areas? And what's the process for commissioning across these different geographies? So maybe you take those two first.
Yes, so we have that content and submissions portal that is company-wide as MultiChoice. And what does it take to be commissioned? Yeah, it's just a good story. Hey, like we are in the business of being Africa's most loved storyteller. And that's essentially what we are looking for. If you feel that your story is great and you've kind of taken the learnings and you've found a way to distill it down to its roots and its most minuscule that you can, definitely then please do submit. Okay, like yeah, we're just looking for great stories. And from a region-wide specific submissions, there are region-specific portals, but if you just go and check Mnet or Mnet submissions, and it will take you then to the specific one for your region. And commissioning editors, what they usually look for is, we're just looking for great stories, guys. It doesn't get, I don't want to complicate it. We're just looking for great stories that are simply told.
We can't overemphasize the need for great stories. But do you commission across different genres, or are there specific focal areas?
So how it works in the business is that, so there are various teams. So there are some teams that do reality or non-scripted and entertainment. And then there are the teams that do scripted. Some teams do both. And then they commission based on their content hours needs, okay? And I know with us as being an entertainment provider, what we look for now is, even with your genres, I would say that the genres, um, not really, as long as it's packaged really well and we see the viability of it, we will entertain it.
Okay.
Because now we
Okay.
service not only, we don't only service just the MultiChoice, the DSTV business, but we also service Showmax as well. And we've seen that some of the
Yeah.
documentaries there do really well for us. You just need to kind of package it in a way that makes it seem viable, you know. And it's always like, how do you, what is your imagining of telling this particular story that you are telling, even if it's a
Yeah.
documentary? So we will entertain it across the clusters.
What's the rationale behind it? Okay. Somebody's
No, I
asking what
wouldn't
a
say
non.
what's, sorry, Victor, I wouldn't say what's the
Okay.
rationale. I think that's not
Okay.
what makes it compelling.
Oh,
Can I
okay.
just rephrase the question to say what makes it compelling? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Thanks a lot. There's a question around what are non-scripted content and if MultiChoice co-produces kids animated content.
So we don't do kids animated content at the moment. It might change in the future, but at the current moment, we don't. We focus mainly on entertainment, which is the reality side of it, reality, docuseries, music. You know, we do music content as well. So we do all of that interesting stuff. And then we focus on the scripted content, which can then be dramas, telenovelas, films, short films. Like when I say short films, it's usually like capped at 52 minutes. So those are that's our current area of focus. Yeah, but it might change in the future. I just don't know when.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Someone's asking what are non-scripted content. I don't think you answered that.
So what is non-scripted content? It's basically like your reality content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
reality content. There's also like the music shows as well. Those are not scripted, and sometimes your, I don't want to say lifestyle, but kind of like your lifestyle shows. Yeah. So those are non-scripted, and then scripted would be something where there's it's fiction, like you intentionally go and write a script and do script development. You know what I mean? Script
Yeah.
development for it, so that it can then be what, published or aired on DSTV and or Showmax.
Yeah. Cool. There's a very important question here about intellectual property. I was waiting for this
Yes.
question personally.
Yeah.
Who owns the IP on a commission project?
So it's an easy question, but it's a tough question, right? So let's say you walk into KFC, right?
Yeah.
And you buy that KFC for however much it costs you, right? Whose KFC is it?
It's mine, I guess,
Can
because
you
I've
still
just
give it
bought
to
it.
the teller and say it's yours? So what I mean, like with the intellectual property conversation, we are not opposed to it, right? But I think then we kind of then would need to work out how much then as the producer you are putting into the project, and then
Yeah.
how much then as MultiChoice is putting into the project. That's how it would normally work. Because if someone is paying you are, if it's commissioned, fully commissioned, then what then happens is that, you know, MultiChoice is paying for the show, for the creation of the show in its entirety, and they are fully taking on all of the risk. But I think it works like that everywhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
just an exclusive thing to MultiChoice, but if someone is putting in 100% of the fee, then they would, yeah, then that's where the IP would reside. But if you are insistent on IP, it's not something that is frowned upon. We would then just have to look and say, okay, this show costs X amount. How much of that X are you putting into the production?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and you'd
Thanks a
have to
lot.
do it up front also.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Sanele. There's a question here which I guess you might have touched in the course of your presentation. What's the approach on getting a script noticed by a producer? How do you get a script noticed by a producer or a production company? But I guess you touched that in the course of your
Yeah.
presentation, the do's and
Yeah.
don'ts and the elements of a good script and all. Do you also work with animators from West Africa? That's a question. Do you work with animators from West Africa?
So personally, I don't, because the business, how it's structured is that, West Africa would have their own commissioning editing team that kind of looks at the need of the region, and then they would do that for that specific region. Animators, it depends, because some title sequences do have animation, right? So it might not be an anime, like, not animation in the traditional sense, but
Yeah.
because that title sequence is animated, then the answer would be yes, we do work based on the need of the show, but we don't commission, at the moment, we don't commission like animated content that's top and tail, fully animated.
Okay.
But it might
Okay.
change though. And I need to highlight that it might change, because now we are servicing a couple more platforms than we did. So, but the thing that I can't answer you is that when will it change? That I don't have the answer to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Sanele. Someone's asking what kinds of safeguards are in place for people's intellectual property when pitching or proposing work for commission. I think you touched a bit on this,
Yes.
but maybe do you want to elaborate a bit
It's
more?
it's a very important question, right? And this is why I personally love our submissions portal. If I were you guys, I wouldn't send my proposals to people's emails. I would just
Mm-hmm.
refrain from that. If you want to submit to MultiChoice and Showmax, please go via the portal, because what then happens is that there is a tracking number that serves as an identifier that you submitted the content on this particular day, and it looks like this. You know what I mean? So that already is a safeguard for you. Don't send it to people's emails, because you don't know what pressures those people are under. You know what I mean? And you just don't know. So rather submit it on the portal, so that you always are safeguarded with the tracking number. So that's, for me, that is the
Yeah.
biggest safeguard, and why I always advocate for putting it on the submissions portal, because what then happens, there's an email that confirms that you submitted this thing on this date, and you can always then go back and refer should you have an issue or a grievance. You know what I mean?
Splendid. I
Yeah.
can see people are asking about the link to the submission portal. It's right there in your presentation, right? Do you want to take some time and just post it out there before we close today? The link to the submission portal. And then I will pick some other questions. I can see some questions have been addressed already
Yes.
in the course
No,
of your
bring them on.
answers
Bring
to
them on.
others. Okay, cool. There's a question around the possibility of getting major marketing like billboards, events and more for a licensed show.
Mhm.
I'm not too sure I understand that. What's the possibility of getting major marketing? Then let's take that alongside the next one, which is, does MultiChoice commission documentary projects?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay.
So if you go and look at, because remember, we service two platforms, guys. So don't only look at DSTV. There's DSTV and there's Showmax. So we service both. We recently working on a documentary. We have also done. We did the Rieva Who Killed in South Africa. At least we did Who Killed Rieva, and we did the Stein heist one as well. The Stein heist, Steinhoff. Yes, we did. We also did that one as well. So we do commission it, but you just need to package it in a way that makes it compelling for us. So yeah, we do.
Yeah.
What was the other question again?
The other question was, what was the possibility of getting major marketing, like getting billboards, events, and all of that for a licensed show? Is it still
Yeah,
possible?
it depends. I guess we would have to see the content and what it's worth, because that would essentially, like, it's a whole other different separate business model. So yeah, we would then, it would depend on the piece of content, because we do treat it individually. Yeah, we would just have to see it and then make a decision from there as a business. If it makes sense to the business, and it is, because for instance, we do have content that we license, that's because it's such a puller, we still go and we advertise it as well, because especially if it's coming onto our platform. So that there's that.
Okay. So someone's asking that they are in post-production. By the way, a lot of people have been asking about the recording and the slides. So we're just sharing the slides, but you will have access to the recording of today's session, all of it on our YouTube page, African No Filters YouTube page. And so not to worry if you missed any bit of the presentation or the Q&A session, you have access to all of this on African No Filter YouTube. There's a question around the post-production stage. We're already in post-production stage of a 5-episode program about environmental conservation. Is it possible to submit the show to MultiChoice to see if they would want to pick it up?
Yes, it is possible, but please send the upload the proposal of the show onto the portal. And then, yeah, just make sure that your screening link is private and has a password, because some of our divisions do license, so they might be interested.
There's a very important question here, Sanele, about the length of time it takes between how long it's take between when it is purchased, when the project or the show is purchased, and when it's going to air on TV.
Yes. What is the question? Is that how long does it take?
Yes, how long does it take? How long does the chain of processes at the back end take?
So are you saying from the actual pitching stage, or are you saying once it's been approved?
From the moment it's been approved to the moment it hits the screens? How long
is
that?
So I'll speak from a scripted point of view, right? Because that's where my field of expertise resides. And from a scripted point of view, what would then happen is that we would contract, right? So go through pitches, which would take like a month, and then contract, which would take like maybe another month and a half. And then we go into script development, which is usually anything between 3 to 6 months, depending on the scale of the show. And what then happens once we are at a comfortable space in development, what you would then get is that we would then start pre-production and post-production. So I would say, depending on the scale, some shows take longer just because of their just because of their scale, right? Like they are that big, they need maybe 2 years of development because they are that big. Others, with movies, the average is about maybe 3 to 6 months, right? And then for the longer format stuff, it can be anything between 6 to 8 to 9 months, just depending on the scale of the show. But it differs from formats to formats and from shows to show, because each show has different needs, but those are the averages.
Yeah, I get that. Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sanele. How do TV pitches differ from Showmax pitches? Showmax is a streaming platform, so are the pitch processes the same, or are there slight differences?
So what's been instituted in South Africa is a content hub. So the content hub would then look at the research as to say, okay, what is Showmax looking for? What kind of viewers are we servicing for Showmax, and what do they want, right? But also what would pleasantly surprise them, you know what I mean? So then based on that, then the team would look at the proposals and then allocate and say, you know what, this we're going to pitch to Showmax because of reasons of it's more suited to an SVOD platform where you can watch anywhere, anytime, anyhow, versus a linear platform that you need to make an appointment for. So it would differ in the content itself and not necessarily the process.
Yeah, content.
Yeah, and how,
Okay, there's a question around, must the dramatic question be clearly stated in the pitch, or that should be the source/guide for story development? That's one. I wanted to take another one, but I just realized I'm not too clear on what the person means. It says, how do you get financing? I don't know if the person is asking how MultiChoice gets its money, or how the person can have access to financing opportunities. But yeah, let's just take the first question, which is about dramatic question. If they must be clearly stated in the pitch, or if that should be the source/guide for story development.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, but your dramatic question essentially guides your story. Like that's the question that you are answering throughout your proposal. you know. So then what it does, your dramatic question essentially guides your pitch.
Okay.
Yeah, it guides your pitch, it guides how you tell your story, it guides the tone of your story, it guides, you know, just the things that you need to highlight, and as to whether is what I am putting in my presentation answering my dramatic question or not.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Somebody's asking, you spoke about in your presentation the length of the pitch documents and the submissions, 3 to 5 pages, and all. It shouldn't be so lengthy. Someone's asking about the bios. If the bios of the characters are part of the length that you spoke about.
So no, your character bios, if you do extend it to 5 pages, then I would say yes. But if it's a
Okay.
movie, yeah, I would cap it at 2 pages, and then your character bios would then be from page 3. But yeah, I don't know whether that makes sense, but
Yeah, it
in my
does.
mind, you have your story, which is then contained between 3 and 5
Yeah.
and pages, and then your character bios would then come afterwards.
Okay. Someone is asking, we had a question about how long it takes from approval to hitting the
Yes,
screen. But there's
yes,
also a question about how long it takes to hear back from MultiChoice after you've
yes.
submitted on the link and all the necessary things. How long does it take to get back?
So that's a very popular question. We get it all the time. And so how the portal does that, once you get that email back, you must read it carefully, because it tells you that if you haven't heard from us within a time frame of 90 days, then you must consider your proposal unsuccessful. But it doesn't stop you from submitting other stuff. So you don't need to wait
Okay.
for that 90 days to
Yeah.
submit things. If you want, and I'm not advocating for this, but you can submit literally a new concept every day, as long as
Yeah.
it has that format that we prescribed in the beginning.
Okay. And it could be a pitch deck or a Word document will suffice.
It can be a Word document. PDFs usually work easier because then you don't have to download them onto your machine. You just click it and it goes and it opens it on its own tab. So PDFs always work well. PowerPoint as well, if you want to be fancy, but I would take that PowerPoint and convert it into PDF so that it's just easier.
And the submission link that you had, does it work
Yes.
across the continent, or this is specific to Southern Africa?
So I've seen it. I haven't tried to use it, but I've seen some people have been able to submit to us from Nigeria. But it could be that maybe the person put a Nigerian address, because it doesn't necessarily tell us, the location. But I would say, yeah, try it. We have received proposals from Zambia that what we then do is that we then redirect them to the correct team, depending on where the producer is from and what story they're telling. We've had Zambia, Botswana, I've had a couple from Kenya as well. And I've had a couple from Nigeria. Oh yeah, recently also some from Mozambique as well. So
Okay.
quite interesting. So it does seem to work across from just based on that. And then what we then do is that we then just redirect it to the correct teams if it does come to us. So what would then, I think where it's split, it is split by the channel that you choose, because then it goes to the respective teams. You can see it.
Before we let you go, Sanele, I feel hard pressed to just ask, these two very important questions.
Yes.
Somebody's asking about, how do you strike a balance between what is entertaining and what is commercially viable, right? And what's the most important to the viewer? And then maybe you can, in the same breath, strike out this other question. In deciding to accept a pitch, how much weight would you give to the strength of the story versus the strength of the pitching team, the portfolio and the background of the team presenting the project? So we can strike these two off, and then we can let you go.
Okay, so I'll answer the second one first, because that's, I think, it reflects MultiChoice's passion for breeding and really helping storytellers all over the world, right? And especially throughout Africa. Like, we are really for developing talent. So if your story is really good enough, we will find ways to support you. So I would say work on your story, because that's guys, we need your voices. You, the people on this platform, are the current and future storytellers of our time. You know what I mean? So we need their voices. So we can't be looking at things like experience and all of those things when we can actually partner you with people that are experienced, when we have, you know, those relationships with people that are experienced that can really teach you and help you take you to the next level so that you learn what you need to learn so that you can become the best storyteller that you can be. So the strength of your story is very, very important. Really work on your pitch document. And because if you can sell it well enough, then yeah, the team will move heaven and earth to try to make it, right? Because we
Yeah.
need your voice, we need your talent, we need your stories, guys. And just sorry, and then on the first question, which is
How do you strike the balance
speaking
between
about the
what is
balance,
entertaining?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. What is, you know, and whenever I hear this kind of question, for me, it's always like, as a storyteller, what is the story that you are trying to tell? You know what I mean? What is the problem that you are identifying as a storyteller that you want to highlight? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the greatest storytellers and the greatest stories always come from a place of passion. So look at what is the issue that you want to bring to light, that you want to highlight, right? And then from there, do a bit of research. And what I mean by that is go and look into people that have this issue, right? Talk to friends and family, go to places and socialize and talk to people about this issue. Hear what they think about it. Hear if they have first-hand experience, right? Because from this first-hand experience is your story, because that's how people
Yeah.
feel about the issue. That's what they've experienced, you know? And then from there, the entertainment will then take care of itself, because at the core of it and at the heart of it, you have something that really touches and affects people deeply. So
Yeah.
my advice for someone who's looking to strike a balance, I would say, what is true about the issue that you are trying to highlight, right?
Yeah.
What is true about the issue that you want to speak about? And then
Yeah.
from that truth, then what is it, you distill events that will then lead up to the entertainment taking care of itself. Because already,
Yeah.
from your point of view, you are already, one, highlighting something that is touching a lot of people, and two, you are telling it in a way that they can connect with it and that is relevant and resonant with them as well. And then from there, the entertainment will take care of itself. And then ask yourself, why do I want to tell the story, right? Why is it important? And then once you've distilled it down to a character, why is it important for this character to get what they want? You know what I mean? Why is
Yeah.
this character the way that they are? Why are they doing the things that they are doing? And then from there, it's just gonna connect. It's just gonna connect. And
Yeah.
yeah, the entertainment will then definitely take care of itself.
Great. On that note, Sanele, we will be drawing the curtain at this point and say a very huge thank you from African No Filter, and of course from our community. We're extremely grateful to you for making out time to share all of these very, very useful knowledge, insights with every one of us. We've learned a whole lot. And this is to every one of you who have asked for the slides and the recording. You will have access to the recording indeed. Do check on the African No Filter YouTube page, and you will see the recording. Any moment from tomorrow you should be having that. And so thanks to every one of you too, making out time on
Thank
the work
you.
day, busy day as such as this, to come and listen to Sanele. It's been a splendid session. Unfortunately, we couldn't take all the questions. Sanele, you need to see all the questions that we've got, close to 80 questions. We barely
Oh my
just
word.
scratched the surface, and I wish we had more and more time, to go around all the questions. But please, it's never too late. We will still be able to have this sort of interface. And I would
Yeah.
encourage you to make it a date on the 19th of April. Africa No Filter is also coming, bringing forward another exciting and explosive masterclass session and conversation with an expert as well. We're all very talented storytellers in Africa, right? It's part and parcel of our culture. Talent in
Yeah.
storytelling has been part and parcel of our culture. But you would agree with me that talent can open the door, but you've got to add something to it to stand you out, right? There's got to be something that keeps you different and stands you out and makes it noticeable. And that's why we've put together a masterclass on branding, on personal branding. And so I encourage every one of you who are here to keep a date and come back on the 19th of April. Keep in touch with us by signing up to our newsletter, africanofilter.org/community, and follow us on our social media handles as well, our social media pages, to get all the information about subsequent sessions. But it's been splendid, and it's honor to continue to bring this to you every quarter. And so we look forward to seeing you all on the 19th of April. And thank you so much once again to Sanele. You all get the recording of this on our YouTube pages.
Thank you,
And
guys.
we're continuing to root for every one of you. Keep smashing it. Keep doing what you do the best way you can. And thanks a lot, Sanele and the entire MultiChoice family. It's been nice having this partnership and conversation with you. Thank you so much. And thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy your day.
Bye.
Bye.